That wasn't good enough. The medium wasn't a small. My weight was over 100 pounds. Hey guys, Leia here with a new video. I don't know if I had said it officially on my channel or not, but initially I had thought that I would not make an eating disorder video every single week, just because my channel is about a lot more than that, even if right now my life is dealing with eating disorder behaviors. And I realized that this week is actually NEDA week, which is the National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. And so I wanted to do the first video in a series of videos that I'm going to call something like 12 Years with Eating Disorders, something like that. So before I start this video, I want you to know that I am very frustrated because I actually filmed this video, the next video, and the video after that. So 3 of the 4 videos in the series, and then I deleted them. Very frustrating, not just because it took me an hour and a half to film the videos, but also because I was almost done editing the first one when it got deleted, so now I have to try to remember everything that I said. So, I want to start this video out by saying that I'm not going to repeat the things that I said in my body dysmorphia video. Body dysmorphia and atypical anorexia go hand in hand with each other, and actually body dysmorphia and all eating disorders can go hand in hand with each other. So if you want to learn more about my body image issues, go ahead and watch that video. The only thing that I'm going to repeat from that video is that when I was 7 years old, I had a teacher, not my teacher, but a teacher from one of the other classes said to me, "Leia, I've noticed that you've lost weight recently." And as a little kid, I was like, "Oh, okay." But she told me that I was supposed to say thank you. And so that was really the beginning of me feeling like I needed to diet. And from the time that I was very young, probably 10, I was going on diets. I thought that I needed to lose weight. I would try to count calories and they would only last for a couple of days, and it was a lot for a 10-year-old to try to do. I mean, dieting is a lot for anyone to try to do, but especially for like a little 10-year-old kid. I even joined a gym because I wanted to work out so I would lose more weight. Like, I was 10 and I went to a gym. It absolute insanity. So anyway, this like feeling of wanting to diet was really pervasive throughout much of my childhood. And I wasn't a super active child. You have to remember I have a physical disability. Actually, I have 2 that affect my legs. So it was really hard even back then to do a lot of running. Walking wasn't so bad, but definitely I couldn't do a lot of running. But, you know, I still was in gym. In 6th grade, I played basketball. In 7th grade, I ended up doing physical therapy the entire year, so I couldn't play a sport. And then in 8th grade, I was a cheerleader. And then 9th grade came. So 9th grade was really the start of when I started really properly struggling with an eating disorder and started struggling with my body more and more. I think that it probably was precipitated in 8th grade because I was very uncomfortable at that point with anything tight on my body. I'm not entirely sure why, because nowadays I'm the opposite. I'm very uncomfortable with loose clothing on my body. But I remember that all of the other cheerleaders were very small, stick thin, short, all of that, and here I was, you know, I'm big framed, my shoulder bones are like here. These are like legitimately my shoulders, not just fat. And so I remember feeling very self-conscious. I remember that they had to order a new uniform because my uniform didn't fit, and that was very embarrassing for me. And Even when we got the new uniform, I felt like it was still too small, but I didn't want to ask them to order another size up because, again, I felt very, very embarrassed. And you have to remember, these are cheerleading uniforms, so they're not, you know, like, I have a hard time believing that in 8th grade I was actually a 2X. Very hard time believing that. I think that it was just that those uniforms specifically were sized that way, and it made me feel horrible. But dieting and eating disorder stuff didn't really come back into play as far as I remember until I was in high school. So I'm going to show you a photo of me in November before I started doing eating disorder behaviors. This photo was taken for a very specific occasion. I was on the drill team. I was actually on the B block, so I didn't normally get to wear the uniforms. But on this particular day, the boys' team was going to perform, and those of us on the girls' team were going to put on uniforms, march down there, walk, clap for them, and then march back. And I remember, because I wasn't on the block, we were trying to figure out which uniform would fit me, and I said, oh, Susie. Susie's uniform fits. And Susie, which is not her real name, was kind of the biggest of the girls that were on the drill team, and so I thought, of course, this uniform will fit me. It did not, and I don't think you can tell it in the photo, but we had to pin the bodysuit to the skirt because it didn't fit. It was falling down anytime I even did a little bit of movement. So that was what happened there, and not long after this picture was taken at all, I ended up getting sick. Well, not so much anymore, but definitely when I was younger, I would get canker sores, which are little ulcers, and in my case, they were inside my mouth, usually on my lips or on my gums, and they were very painful and made it difficult to eat and talk. But in about November of my freshman year, I actually got canker sores in my throat, which were very, very painful. It made it almost impossible for me to eat. In fact, for 2 days, it was impossible for me to eat. It was impossible for me to swallow water. But I did learn something over those 2 days, and that's that it wasn't that bad to not eat. In fact, I lost about 3 or 4 pounds, I'm thinking, in just those 2 days. Like, just an absurd amount of weight. And of course, looking back, it had to have all been water weight because I was not drinking any water. It's impossible that I actually lost 3 to 4 pounds in 2 days. But, you know, I realized that I could cut back and lose weight. And around this time, I was just incredibly active, probably the most active that I was in my life, because you have to think, I was doing drill 3 times a week. I was walking around this huge high school that was, at least to me, it was huge, big spread out high school with 2 floors going back and forth between the different sides of the school. I was in gym. During my spring semester, I had gym, and then I was also in JROTC, which, if you don't know, even though there are classroom elements to JROTC, it's counted as a gym class because you spend a lot of time marching, you spend a lot of time doing physical fitness, and then you do class time and uniform time. But, so I was doing all of these really intense things, so I was already, I think, losing maybe a little bit of weight just from being so active, but I really wanted to lose more, and I started to restrict. Growing up, we never really had big breakfasts. Like, it would be kind of like grab a cosmic brownie or a leftover piece of cake or leftovers from dinner or something like that, and that would be breakfast. But, of course, when I was drilling, I probably should have been eating more because I was getting up and I was exercising first thing in the morning. Our practice was from 6:15 a.m. to about 7:15 a.m. It doesn't seem like walking around a gym would be exercise, but when you're just constantly walking around a gym for an hour in high heels, trying to be in step, all of that stuff, it's a lot. It is exercise. And so I started to restrict what I was eating. I restricted down. Basically, I didn't ask my mom for more money when I started eating breakfast. And when I say I was eating breakfast, I was eating a snack. I was eating like 2 of these little, kind of, they were probably around this big around and about this thick muffins, the muffin tops that were chocolate chips. And so I would have 2 of those because they came in a pack of 2, And I would also have a grape water with it. And the grape water had 0 calories. So I was having, you know, maybe 200 or 300 calories for breakfast, if that. Like, I honestly highly doubt that those muffins were 100 calories each. Like, they were so small. And like I said, they weren't even muffins, it was just muffin tops. Like, they were very low calorie, I have to assume. Not anywhere near probably the 600 calories that I probably should have been eating for breakfast. And now, because I was eating that much for breakfast, I only had a little bit of money left for lunch because I didn't ask my mom for more money. And this was fine, it worked out great because, again, I intentionally had a very small lunch. I had 1 breaded mozzarella stick, and I also had 1, like, little snack bag, like, this size, snack bag size of Gardettos. And again, you know, that's probably... The breaded mozzarella stick is, I don't know, maybe 150 calories, and the Gardettos was, again, maybe 80 or 100 calories. So, a very small lunch. So, I was getting to where it was the majority of the day, and I had only eaten that little bit, and then I would go home and eat a small snack, and then eat dinner. And the way I did this, I was very good at hiding it from my parents and my coaches. I don't know if I was intentionally hiding it from them. It's just been so long. I mean, this was 12 years ago. This is when I was a freshman in high school. But I do know that we would go to drill meets about every other Saturday, and I did not restrict at drill meets, and I did not restrict at home. And I think that probably subconsciously, if not consciously, I was making a choice to not have them see that I was restricting and just make it look like I was losing weight from being so active. But the thing is that, for me, I know regardless of the amount that I was eating, that it was a restricting mindset. Like, I was doing this on purpose to lose weight. So even though I didn't do it on Saturdays, or even though I didn't do it at home, I'm still restricting. Because if you think about it, between breakfast and lunch, you should be having 1,000 plus calories, especially if you're in high school and an athlete and in gym and JROTC. And here I was having almost nothing, you know, having maybe 500 or 600 calories for my whole day after being so active. And then going home and having a small snack that was probably about 300 calories, or maybe closer to 500 calories, and then having a small dinner. So I was definitely not eating anywhere near what an active 15-year-old needs to survive. And I was losing weight pretty rapidly, not in like a scarily rapid way like I did whenever I got sick or in my later eating disorder behaviors, but I was definitely losing weight quite quickly. So as the year ended, I didn't know if I was going to be able to restrict at home, if I was going to be able to have the self-control to do all the restricting and also hide it from my parents. And also, things changed. Well, I guess I should start with this. Towards the end of the year, I had a plan, was that I was going to start working out with the Raider team. And if you don't know what Raiders are, basically think cross-country on steroids. And I noticed that all of the Raiders were super thin because, well, I mean, they would go to competitions and run like 14 miles a day in competitions. And so I thought that I was going to join Raiders and become super skinny. And I was going to continue to do it because I needed to lose weight. I'm going to put up a photo of me from when I was in Florida, which was, I don't think it was the lowest weight that I was, but it's kind of the lowest weight that I have a photo of. And, you know, in this photo, I am like normal sized. I look like a normal, healthy teenager on the skinny side. You know, not stick thin, but certainly thin enough, you know. But I thought to myself that I was so fat. And even looking at those fake pictures, I still feel that way today when I look at them. I know that it's not fat. I know that they're a healthy weight. I know that what my weight was healthy for my height. And especially, like, again, I have, like, really, really, like, bony wrists. Like, I have thick bones. So I'm always going to be on the bigger side. But I felt so fat. And I wore a size medium, but that wasn't good enough. I weighed probably about 130 pounds, but that wasn't good enough. The medium wasn't a small. My weight was over 100 pounds because for some reason I thought that I should weigh less than 100 pounds to be healthy, which would not have been a healthy weight. That would have been underweight for my height and certainly for my frame. But that is the way that I felt. And so I was going to join Raiders. I was going to lose all this weight. I was going to get better at running the mile, get better at push-ups, get better at sit-ups, join the military as a public information officer, and life was going to be great. I was going to be skinny and pretty, and people were going to like me. But the thing is, that didn't end up happening. Instead, what ended up happening was that I had knee surgery that summer. And again, initially, the knee surgery was going to be amazing. I was going to have surgery and be better, and then I was definitely going to be able to run and work out with the Raiders. I was going to be on drill and Raiders, which was a very common thing back then, and I think maybe even a common thing now, I'm not sure. But I certainly thought that life was going to be so much better, and it wasn't. The sad fact was that when I had the surgery, that surgery wasn't so bad. I did deal with a lot of pain from the surgery, but that's what happens when you break a bone and then screw it back in place. But, you know, eventually somewhere along the line, I realized that it was too difficult to keep up with losing weight, and so I stopped. But I didn't gain weight. I was still very active. I was going to physical therapy. I was still having to walk around the high school carrying a heavy backpack. I was still in JROTC, even though I wasn't marching or doing, you know, physical stuff in JROTC. I was still doing things. And it was quite difficult for me. I didn't really gain that much weight. I'm going to throw up a picture from about the middle of my sophomore year, right here. So as you can see, I've maybe gained a little bit of weight, but not much at all. I really didn't gain weight until my junior year, and I know that by my senior year, I had gained 100 pounds. I had gained 100 pounds in 2 years, and I don't remember if that was from binging or not. I'm gonna probably venture and guess and say not, because I know at that time I didn't have my own money, and that's kind of been a recurring theme of I binge when I have money and I'm not feeling well. If I have money and I feel fine, then I don't binge, but if I have money and I don't feel well, then I binge, and we're gonna see that later on in the story. I gained a lot of weight, and I really started to struggle with my body image again in senior year. I graduated from high school that semester, and I went to college, and I was really depressed, and I regret it. Now, looking back, I don't, because, you know, I may not have been able to get a job at the Hawkeye if I hadn't, but I do regret the fact that I graduated early. At the time I did. I was so sad all the time, and I think that I may have been eating more. Like, I think that that's a distinct possibility. I remember going to the kitchen of the community college and getting food every day. I was just severely depressed. But then things looked up because I got accepted into the University of St. Mary, which, if you don't know, is like a college that I absolutely love and adore, and I'm so glad that I was able to go there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the video off right here. I think that it's a clean place to start. So to recap, I dealt with anorexia as a freshman, kind of got better my sophomore year, and started gaining weight at the end of my sophomore year up through my senior year. And then I graduated high school and started college, and that's where we're going to pick up in the next video. Alright, bye guys.